So step one is align, right? What are you measuring and who owns these things, right? So at the base of the period, you have behavioral metrics, property metrics, and this is where your product analytics can give you this information. So that's the system to gather this data, and you got to figure out who's going to do it. It needs to be someone that's good at data analysis, I can tell you that. You know, a lot of times BAs get this job or product managers, but you've got to have a mind for it, right? And that's a different mind than the next layer up, right? Which is transactional metrics. And this is, you know, a lot of what CX is, right? So the CSAT, customer satisfaction, customer effort scores, other feedback metrics, right? And these focus on specific transactions in the user experience. And this is really what the product team, in my opinion, owns. Even if they're not collecting the data, they own the actions on that data because it's all about the product experience. Okay, and then finally we have relational at the top of the pyramid, and this is usually measured by things like NPS or attributed revenue. Step two is then designing the workflows that go along with this. And to me, really, there's two major objectives here. One is making sure that we're gathering feedback and we're directing that to the product team for review and taking action. Now, I'm speaking strictly from the perspective of product research right now. Obviously, there's other teams that want to consume the information, but I'm trying to build a workflow for product managers, right? And then also the second step is closing the loop. Now, this is where a lot of product teams don't do it at all, right? They collect feedback, they read it, they take action on it, and that's it, right? And that's a huge missed opportunity. Okay, so now you got your system in place. Well, that's great. What are you going to do next? Well, you got to think about how you're going to communicate cross-functionally within your organization. Because CX systems are beautiful things when they're working right, but they fall apart when people don't manage them correctly. So before you get wooed by that latest CX platform and all of its capacities, make sure that you're internally aligning on who's going to do what, how they will be held accountable, and what resources they're being given to do the job you're asking of them. It also helps to have the development team on board, because the implementation of many survey tools requires their efforts. And actually, a little plug to Airtime. Airtime is the first survey tool that does in-app intercepts that I've ever used where I did not have to rely upon multiple sprints from the dev team to put it in place. In fact, I did it myself with Google Tag Manager. And that's a small miracle because I'm not an engineer, okay? But I was still able to figure it out in a pretty short amount of time. And finally, step four, okay, the insights to action plan. Now, the final step is really how you're going to decide what are you going to do with this information, how are you going to present the insights, and how are you going to act upon it. Now, I'm still waiting on a solution that can automate the tracking and impact of insights. And until then, I've developed workarounds with different systems for different clients.